you got. Well, first off, how did we meet? When we met, you were doing your solo act.
It had to have been right at the beginning of that.
Yeah,
right at the start.
And like Stella Moore too, right?
Yeah, so Stella Moore was before my solo thing. I was in a couple bands before my solo thing. The solo thing started because I would write songs for the bands, and they all rejected them as songs. They just didn't understand what I was trying to do with, arrangements and the guitar and the bass not always matching on chord progressions and tonics. Just actually having a bit of play with, alternative or counterpoint parts, as you might say. And so I was in this band called Wow, bro, I haven't talked about this in a long ass time.
Good.
Kind of forgot about these days.
Yes.
Okay. I was in a band. The first band I was ever in was called Ginsberg Duck. 3-piece punk band. It was a lot of fun. First gig, Freddie's Music Lounge.
Nice.
Second gig, Way Out Club. R.I.P. to Bob.
Yeah.
Are you going to go to the thing on Sunday?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be there. I don't know what time yet.
Yeah.
But yes. That was my first band. I can go into that. I'll wait. Then the second band was through the Way Out Club. Met Ryan Adams, who is this great sound engineer, now doing great work all over the St. Louis area. And just on a whim, his bandmate came through. Ryan was at the mixing board, kind of just showing me things. And he tells his roommate, like, oh, you're looking for a bass player, found one. And I'm thinking, he's not going to point to me, that's crazy. He didn't even see me play. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I come from classical background. Mm-hmm. So whenever you say you play, like you really play, it's not just like, like,
right.
Or ting, 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 what that a lot of people say. Oh, I play the guitar. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's great. Keep going.
Like, I know 3 chords. That's
right. I base everything I do off those 3 chords, and I don't try to learn the whole. You don't.
Absolutely. Teacher for 30 years.
You know those people. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't that person for a while. Certain things like, that's like icing right now.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah. He's not going to say me. He has to see me play. No, he said me, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. So, but it turns out I went and auditioned or whatever and joined this band called Tin Whiskey. It's like a bluesy rock band. And then after that, or not after that, during that is whenever I forgot how I met Greg and all them of Stella Moore. I just don't remember, but it was obviously in the music scene. I auditioned for that band and joined the band called Stella Moore, which was that sonically shifted my idea of genres, man. That was my segue into more experimental stuff, as opposed to just clear cut. Here are these nice defined boxes of rock, pop, jazz, blues, R&B. This was like shoegaze. I wasn't a part of that.
What year was that?
That was 2000. Hold on, I don't know. Hold on, wait a minute. Maybe 4, 2005. I think our first show was 2006. Our last show was 2009. We were only around for like 3 years, which is a shame because we did so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't like a teenager in the 90s like that. Like I wasn't a teenager early 20s in the 90s. I was still like a kid. So My Bloody Valentine, Sonic Youth, that was not in my sphere of genre. So kind of opened things up of like, oh, pedals. Oh, what does this do? And that's whenever I got really into that. And then I saw one of my bandmates of Tin Whiskey. He was playing around with a loop pedal in our practice space. And I'm like, what's going on here? And he had not the head brush, the boomerang, that big ass thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, and he's like, yeah, you can play around with it. So I started noodling, and I was like, pfft. So I'm like, at this point, I had already written songs for both Tin Whiskey and Stella Moore. And Stella Moore, Greg was just really adamant on him being the principal songwriter, like being seen in that way, as opposed to just like organically let things go. I think I was just didn't know at the time. I think a lot of the conflicts that I had to endure with actual bandmates came a lot from their own intimidation or their own insecurity of me not even really knowing. I didn't think they were a bad player. I didn't think I was like, you know, anything great or special. It's just whenever the ideas came to me, like, you know, I'm like, you know, I would tell everybody, like, you do this, and then we would do it, and it would sound great. And I think I just didn't like that it didn't come from them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you know, I started off classical violin, and, you know, sight reading the music as a violinist, you just have your part. It wouldn't be until we go to orchestra rehearsal, and I played with the university because there was no orchestra program growing up whenever I was a kid, like they have now everywhere, which is great. I'm not jealous at all. No, just kidding. It's great. And so even then, in that, I would hear how my part would play with everybody else's, but I still only had access to the music that I had access to. It wasn't until choir in like 8th grade, whenever we're being handed the music, I'm like, oh, they're showing all the parts and what the accompanist is playing. So then I would hear it, but now I also have a guide to see it. So I started, you know, honing in on what the parts were doing a lot and being like, no, you're supposed to sing those sopranos here. Like, oh man, even my teachers hated me sometimes because I was that kid. Like, we dropped pitch, y'all. We flat. All of us as a group, we're flat together, but we're flat. And you know, go to the piano and play the note. Like, she's right. I'm like, you know, there's racial components to that. You know, growing up in rural America of like. This black bitch ain't gonna come in here and do our music better than us. I'm like, yeah, but it's not even your music, no, is it? Anyway. So yeah, it wasn't until seeing choir arrangements and seeing all the parts of like, things kind of clicked in for me, and I would get bored. I loved it because I would get bored with my part whenever, you know, we're working on different things that we're just not getting as a group over and over again. I would start singing on people's hearts, or even if we ran it too many times with the tenors just couldn't get their part right, I would just shift my voice and sing the tenor line. But
kind of lean over to their section.
The first couple times I did it, because I didn't do it that often, it worked. But then my awesome choir director at the time period, he caught on. He's like, Syrhea, stop helping. I'm like, oh God, all day. I'm ready to move on.
Come on.
Yeah, that was me. And now being an educator, I'm like, I deserve this. Thank you. Yes, you are correct. Like, whenever those kids show themselves to me, I'm like, yeah. I got it. That was me. I understand. I'm not mad at you. I can't even be mad. I am you. Yeah, so that's kind of how things blew up.
All I caught was those red eyes.
So a lot of this series, our common denominator obviously is our skin tone, but the fact that we grew up in mostly white neighborhoods. I'm not sure exactly where you grew up.
Yeah, Raleigh was very white. It
Raleigh,
still
okay,
is, just not as much as I think it's like maybe it's a national average now, 13%.
Yeah,
it might be 8%. People of color. I don't know if they're counting that all people of color are actually black people. But I know whenever I was there, that was not. I mean, it was like 99% white.
Yeah. What was school like with, you know, white or non people of color, like their reception of you, or like, you know, maybe speech patterns, or like, you know, when you broke out a guitar, or when you started talking about music, or anything?
Yeah, so I didn't start playing guitar until after high school, after I came to St. Louis. So I was kind of late bloomer in that sense. My first instrument was violin, so 7. 10, I'm teaching myself piano, but it wasn't until in my 20s I actually picked up the guitar. First being the bass guitar, which I realized, this is fretted backwards.
Yeah.
You can hear it?
Yeah, go ahead.
With the bass guitar, the strings are reversed of the violin, and it's fretted. So that was my first thing of like, I'm on the violin, you're just playing one. You're not always playing two parts at the same time. I tend to not do those pieces. I'm just not that good. But with the bass, I'm like, oh, this.
Yeah.
So to speed that up, by the time I started experimenting with SynaSoPro, I only started to play the guitar because of SynaSoPro.
Okay.
So that's whenever SynaSoPro started, whenever I started playing guitar. But as far as in Raleigh is concerned, there was no orchestra, so I'm playing with the college kids and the other community members, so I was always the youngest person in the space. And as far as the schoolmates, classmates reception, they had no idea. I wasn't really broadcasting that part about me to the school, which later I don't know if I regretted. I was really kind of butthurt that, you remember those senior superlatives you had? Like most photogenic, most popular.
Yeah. Remember those?
Man,
most likely to.
Most likely to succeed.
Yeah.
Most likely to be on
Yeah.
cops.
Right.
Like, that bullshit. I do remember my heart being a little hurt that I was voted class clown and not most musical. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. Wow.
But they didn't know.
Yeah.
So why would I get most musical?
Right.
They had no idea.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, as far as my experience, just there, it was just a sea of microaggressions and flat out aggressions. It was not really a kind environment to where my coping mechanism was to be on the attack. So I used comedy as a way to also be like, don't fuck with me, man. Like, also please don't fuck with me.
Right. Sure.
But
yeah.
Type of thing. I think a lot of my jokes were just really mean-spirited. I was not a happy child or person or adult, or not adult, I'm happy now. Young adult, teenager, there's a lot of things going on that I had no means or even tools or even people or access to people to help unpack.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was rough.
Things that it's just like almost any other teenager that things that you cannot change about yourself that you're in despair over, or differences that you notice between you and maybe your friend circle or even an adjacent friend circle that you can't change that make you feel self-conscious. Did you ever deal with like imposter syndrome or that kind of thing?
When it came to music, no, because I had started so young and I was pretty dominant in that and that felt like the space that I could take a bit more, I don't know if control is the right word, but take up more space. Let's put it that way. Take up more space, but I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just basically having, navigating social circles, so you're a musician, right? And then I guess finding where you kind of fit. And I didn't know, I had that whole, grew up in Edwardsville, I sound like this, and there are still family members and friends that don't sound like me. They sound, like
product of their environment.
Yeah, product of their environment, exactly.
Yeah.
And then finding tension either within myself or somehow, like you said, microaggressions from these other people.
Yeah, I've come to learn that my childhood, it was never not tense. It was just perpetual stress all the time, and I internalized the shit out of it to hide it, to keep people from thinking that I was a target. It didn't work. I was a target anyway for being black and also being a girl, because I was into a lot of things that girls weren't supposed to be into. So there was that extra layer on to that as well. So as far as like school is concerned, it wasn't until like maybe high school that I kind of feel like I found a couple groups, but I was still kind of that person that floated around to all the groups, but still not really a part of any of the groups.
I'm so in tune with that. Just I always I heard this rapper called Earl Sweatshirt. He said too white for the black kids, too black for the white kids. But I'm always able to infiltrate social circles. I'm all, and have people that care about me no matter what color they are. And, no one would ever say anything like, oh, I don't see color. This was just like, this is Chan. He's our friend. Oh, he plays guitar. Or, oh, he plays soccer. Or he's really good at this, whatever. Or he's not so great. Whatever it was. Can you tell me about... So navigating that is kind of like a minefield. And then how did that, did any of that kind of play into your musical career? Like when did you start really pursuing music? Like as like, I think I'm going to do this forever.
Oh, yeah, that didn't happen until like recently.
Oh, yeah?
Whenever I quit my day job back in 2016. And even then, having navigated world pandemic and everything being shut down, but just also realizing that all the needs that, that are afforded to other artists in different metropolitan areas are not really also here. So that's kind of been a little bit of a learning process. But I kind of feel like as far as like how I write music or compose music, I think that's why my early stuff was just so chaotic and there was so much happening. Because there was just so much, I never processed the shit, man. It was just like,
yeah, right, yeah.
Either
either no filter or walls.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, right. Race, imposter syndrome, which ties into that. Then we've got a male-dominated, especially rock and roll is male-dominated genre. And then on top of that, nobody. I'll say this and then I'll shut up and I want you to talk. Cave of Swords was on. Were we on tour? I can't remember what we were doing. We were playing a show, and Senyata and I were standing talking, and then the engineer walks up to us.
And he comes to you. Yeah.
He came to me, exactly, and I might even
Bro, I lived this experience. I know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And he asked me what kind of lines you got. And like, I'm going to defer to her because she's the singer and she does that. And then he looks at her and then looks back at me and asks the same question. I'm like, dude, I'm just going to walk over here. So we know this happens all the fucking time. Lay it on me.
Okay, so yeah, I've definitely experienced that more times than not. I guess what I haven't quite experienced is, and maybe just because, you being marginalized in your own different, unique way, is, your bandmate kind of letting people who work in the industry know that the woman's actually the one that you need to be talking to and not, any of the rest of them or this, that, and the other. I guess here recently I haven't experienced that because I think the culture has actually shifted and people are being way more open-minded because a lot of things I've experienced in the past, it was a lot thin and it just slowly kind of like, because remember how you would never see women playing in bands ever. Right. Never. And then women became a token to use.
It was even some of the joking too. Oh man, they're gonna sell a lot of tickets now.
Right, because she's only in the band for the male gaze and the male draw, which that was true for some bands. Right. Just like she's not playing. Yeah. We can see it.
We can all see that.
We're not stupid.
Yeah.
We're watching and listening. This is a room of musicians. Yeah. I was to actually be in a band similar to that, and I'm like, I'm not playing in any band where I am scantily dressed in any type of way ever. You had me, the 3 things you said, I was like, yeah, and then the last thing you said,
here, wear
absolutely
this.
not. Absolutely not. So anyway, let me get back to your point. I've had several experiences, too many to count, too many to even go into detail in. None of them happen the exact same way, but it's still the same energy and the same kind of like thought process or bias. Of one time into a venue with the band I was playing with, and immediately walking in and knowing, okay, this is not a safe place for me, period. You know, because we grew up in those environments, so we knew how to like gauge off the bat, oh, my life might be in danger.
Yeah.
Like, some of these motherfuckers might be
Yeah.
and I might be a target later.
Yeah, hooded at night. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the bar just got so quiet the moment I crossed the threshold. So immediately I'm on high alert of like, okay, stay close to your bandmates. Don't venture off by yourself anywhere. Not for too long if you can help it. Blah blah. You know.
Yeah.
And played the gig. You know, I put on a show, and then we're packing up, and I'm going to the bar to close out my tab with one of my bandmates, and I hear this guy talking to his girlfriend. His girlfriend is like, basically saying, you know, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. And, you know, I'm listening, but I'm not thinking anything's really directed to me. And then he turns towards me. And then he says, you know, well, I mean, I understand what he was trying to say.
It's like a kid.
But during, it's like, kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
But he's like, you know, whenever you first walked in here, I was like, what the fuck is this black bitch doing here?
Oh.
And like, I look at him, and I think I might have actually said, yeah, I kind of got that. Walked in here. Definitely got picked up on that. And he's like, yeah, but after I've seen you play now, I respect you. I'm just like, yeah, what a shame.
So if you could have skipped that whole first step, why don't you just learn
Or
how
why
to do
do I
that?
gotta prove it? Why do I have to earn the shit?
Yeah.
Bro, why can't I just be a person in here enjoying, like, having a few beers and just enjoying some fucking live music?
Yeah.
You know. So, I mean, stuff like that. So that was just a random fan. Other random fans, you're good for a girl, you know. We all, I feel like all women have heard that to a certain extent. Sound engineers, not making eye contact with me, not even acknowledging that I'm a member of the band. This happened a few times with a band I had been on tour with. And actually, I talked to the bandmates about it, hoping I can get a bit more support. Like, hey, can you just have the sound man direct them to me? And they were not, I don't know if they were just too scared or just didn't want to get, you know, I don't know what's going on with other people. I just know that I asked and did not receive. So ultimately I left. Ultimately. But this is like during my journey of like self-respect, really, being born in an environment where, you know, nobody really respects you. Because first you're a child, and then on top of that, and then you're black, and then you're a woman. You know, it just, it conflates, and you just kind of carry these things. You have to slowly realize, this doesn't belong to me, so I gotta start taking this stuff off and unpacking, like, the lies that I believed to be true, reinforced by home environment, and then the town or city you live in, and even the news and access to what visuals you can have your people who look like you doing. There wasn't a lot of examples for me, point blank period.
Did it feel like you had to, each and every time, each and every room you walked into, new venue or whatever, like you have to like qualify, okay, here we go again. I got to qualify myself, and I have to be vindicated. Okay, well, once you see me play, you'll get it, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially, I mean, here in St. Louis locally, I think the first few shows, especially that I played solo, well, maybe not. I think Sellout more. I think that people really enjoyed the music, but also I think they really enjoyed that, you know, I had a distinct or different bass playing style that went with the shoegaze music that kind of, it teetered the line of also, it was definitely shoegaze, but there was elements of like funk and pop and rock in there too, because I wouldn't just drone out the bass on every fucking song.
Right.
Why do I want to play?
Yeah.
That's kind of boring sometimes, you know, let's change it up. Yeah. But as, you know, SynaSoPro, me being the only person in the band and no one actually seeing live looping done the way I had started out doing it, I think that kind of spread my name a little bit here locally in St. Louis. Like what it still would happen in St. Louis when I go to different venues or play with different bands that I never met before, but it slowly started to stop for me here. But then whenever I would go on tour, it was like to a different degree because some places we're traveling to don't have a lot of demographics, diversity in demographics. So I had to prove that I was even in the band, fighting with the door guy. Like I had to step out just to get this fucking my bass stand. I'm coming back in to play. Like no, you got to pay. Thinking I'm trying to, sneak in the bitch.
Like, okay, do you see?
So I just walked in. Yeah. I just walked in carrying all their stuff. I'm not a part of it.
All right.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you? She can't be a girlfriend, guys. Like, no, she's actually, fighting all the time. Even to backlining. Like, we're gonna backline bass cabs. Great. Find the other bass player of the band who owns the cab. Like, hey man, is it cool if I change your EQ settings? And either them getting really, I like my tone, But I think that probably happened to any person.
Right, sure.
But two, mansplaining like, hey, well, do you know what this means?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask you if I didn't know what it meant, man. I wouldn't ask you if I could change it if I didn't know, what it meant. So, it was just kind of an onslaught.
Like,
you get tired of it. And sometimes you show up in not your best self because you're pissed off that you have to might have to deal with it. You know how you do that sometimes?
Yeah. Well, to a degree, I mean, hopefully, so that, that was what, early, mid-2000s.
Into the early aughts. Going on tour in the early aughts.
Yeah. And I don't think anything really started changing until 2008, with our first black president.
Right.
And then, and then of course the direct, as a friend put it, an allergic reaction to the first black president with number 45. And then racial tensions because of him were exacerbated because he made it seem like it's okay to say it. Like, well, the president feels this way. I'm voting for the guy that's gonna let me say, and I, or freedom of speech, but they forget freedom of speech doesn't mean that you can just hurt somebody because you feel like saying that.
Because they're hurt.
Because they're hurt, right? Hurt people hurt people. So, tell me about Honor Amongst Thieves, because not Honor Amongst Thieves. What's the phrase I want to use? Not necessarily wolf in sheep's clothing, but you're kind of getting those microaggressions from peers and other band members. Let's talk about that kind of stuff.
I don't think there's really been a band that I've been in where some of that to some degree hasn't happened, and it seems to me I'm the target to let all the vitriol out. It may not really. I don't think it really has anything to do with me. I mean, obviously.
It's more about them.
Yeah, it's more about them, and I'm the person to. Well, maybe not Ginsberg Duck. I was only in that band for maybe 6-7 months. I can't remember. It was not very long in the grand scheme of things, but definitely there was some little bit of stuff going on in Tin Whiskey. Not a whole lot. I wouldn't even say it was a whole lot. But yes, definitely Cellamora, and all the bands I joined there after that. I forgot there was a few different bands. Yes. Jovian Chorus. I forgot about that band.
You were in that?
No, yeah, I was in.
I didn't know you were in that.
Yeah, man. Didn't we play shows together?
No, because that was Shay and that was me after I left.
You left the house.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I didn't,
because we never answered the question of where we first met.
Right.
It must have been at a Stella Moore Ghost and Light show.
It was. It had to have been. Yeah.
But yeah, I was playing bass and joining chorus, and a band member was weirdly always coming at me. And also, I could be because I'm the youngest person, I'm the most inexperienced at the time, but when it comes time to play the music, I know what the hell is going on. Because I've been training unknowingly my whole fucking life for it, There was a one time, not even one, several times Stella Moore, we would play a show, drummer drops a beat, something would happen to where I have to to them, in the next measure, we're going to go ahead and go to the chorus because the beat is lost. Let's get, and then boom, and get the band back together. But for whatever reason, the members who started that band and saw themselves as like the two founders of the band always wanted to be the ones to do all the press, take all the credit, and be seen as the leaders. But in reality, whenever we're actually performing, they were scared shitless whenever that shit would happen.
Yeah.
And I would step up and be like, let's go, let's get back in it, and let's, it's okay.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, y'all are playing in these bands, and maybe these effects pedals and stuff like this is new for me, but I've been playing with other musicians since I was a child. I know how to listen and understand. I remember being really excited, like, we should have practice where we all like stand next to other people's amps so we could hear what they're playing. And like, I thought that was a thing.
Sounds like a great idea.
That's what people would do.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Like the things that I learned in orchestra and choir never really plays out. Well, I wouldn't say play. Never played out for me in playing in these local bands here, and even touring bands. But I have to remember, my background is not the same as them. They're playing music that, they weren't trained on a certain level. Put it that way.
Yep.
And I guess the things that I was just naturally doing, I assumed everybody naturally did. I was one of those naive people because I have I wouldn't say perfect pitch, but relative pitch. I'm assuming, it took me until I was 20 something, like, y'all can't do that.
Right, yeah.
Like, oh shit, like not understanding that we're all a little bit different in how we not only perform, but how we approach life and how we're built.
I know what you're saying about that. Me as a music, not just a guitar teacher, but I'm a music educator. And directing bands, directing whole shows with 20 kids, and getting them to understand what their deficiencies and how to bridge those gaps and breach those plateaus and become a better performer. You start learning these things, and it's an automatic thought. And then you get into a band with people that are either self-taught or have never had either that education or the opportunity to learn how to convey that kind of stuff. Like you're saying, wait, you don't already hear this? Or like you guys, like, you have to give cues. Why don't you give cues to this person? If you're the band leader, you should know where everything is. And there's a conductor's. So that ties back into your classical.
Right, my classical training. Yeah. And just, communication while you're performing. Because,
Yeah.
Well, really embarrassing moment. But as part of the whole group. So one time, I think I was like maybe 12, 13, the orchestra I was playing with in Rolla, University of Missouri Rolla Orchestra. We tried to play Beethoven's Sixth. Bro, I remember not wanting to go to rehearsals. I'm like, I don't think we could do it. But I'm 13.
Which one is that? That's not that's his ninth, right?
Why am I drawing a blank?
That's right.
Fantasia.
Oh, okay, got it. Sure.
That one?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that the sixth? Oh my god, cut it out. It's not the one. Long story short, the storm sequence, where, in Fantasia, all the unicorns and stuff with the wings were like trying to protect themselves from the storm. That shit's probably some of the most difficult passages of music I've ever played at that point in my life, or even period. It's, I'm not gonna lie, there's some parts where I'm like, bro, I can't play it, but I know where we are. I know how to count to 4. I'm still following the music, but I'm just not. I'm 13, okay? I'm not a prodigy. But during rehearsals, we're starting to get better. But we had one rehearsal before the performance. Performance takes place. Something went wrong. It just went down. And the conductor was trying to hey, don't worry. You go, now brass, okay, strings. It was falling apart. Yeah. During the performance, he goes, "Sing!" And I'm like, I don't think the audience understood maybe how embarrassing don't think they knew.
Yeah.
But bro, come on.
Everybody play a C.
Like it wasn't like play a C. He was saying we're at section C because no one was in. We were not together.
And short of stopping, he had to.
Yeah, we couldn't stop.
Signal.
Yeah, we were. It was performance, so he just screamed out C. That was my only experience I've ever really had of somebody yelling, "Hey, we're gonna do this" to the musicians, who were performing. But yeah, it's the training that. Not having that training and not being around that criticism. And I know the time period that we came up, that shit wasn't constructive half the time. But I think that's another part of it. Like you internalize like, okay, I'm not good enough. This needs to be perfect, blah, 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 blah. And the part of you strives for that, but another part of you is like, this is fucking impossible. I don't want to do this. Just like that push and pull of like, should I be here right now? Because yes, I love this music, but boy, I don't really like being a part of this. I don't like it whenever I'm watching you and you and I make eye contact. There's been a couple times I remember playing, even whenever I'm just like, oh, you're doing so great. You just want to let me know I'm doing great. Look at me. I'm like, God. And I'm a child. Yeah. And I had no one to talk to about this. I wouldn't talk to anybody about this. It's like, these are like, how I was brought up, these were flaws that needed to be like eradicated. So I was too afraid to even bring them up. I was struggling with it. I just figured out how to do it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Those artists that want to, you're breaking down those barriers, so you're breaking open those doors, so you're going to have a few bruises, because sometimes you lead with a fist, sometimes you lead with your foot, there's going to be splinters, there's going to be a bruise on your face, because sometimes you fall face first into it, So I do definitely thank the bands and the artists that came before for kicking those doors down in the 80s and 90s. When we were coming up, and that were, and the boundaries and the barriers that we've been kicking down too, especially you. You and I have known each other for 20 years or more.
That's crazy.
And I've always respected you and what you do, and every time your names come up with me bringing it up or someone else bringing it up, like we just talk about how what a marvel you are, and like you're definitely one of the hardest working musicians that I've ever met.
I could definitely work harder. I'm not very good at playing instruments.
But
you know what I mean. Like it's.
But I see.
That's where like a part of me with the younger generations, a little bit of resentment creeps up. Yeah. Of like, do you have any idea how hard we had to work to get where we are right now? And y'all are complaining they want you to practice this passage 2 more times.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like or even. Being in the space where we're here now, there's a lot of, there's a renaissance kind of happening with the music scene in St. Louis, but at the same time, as a woman, as a black woman, and a musician, I always kind of avoided promoters. They were just not a safe option for me. Promoters were typically always men, and you can feel the energy. They want something for, I'm like,
yeah.
So that's another reason why I didn't really interface with certain scenes here, but also seeing promoters now who are on that tip, doing that thing, and wondering why we still protect these people whenever they know that we know they're not really doing the real work, they're not doing the work well, they're not doing it for the sake of actually helping artists, they're doing it for the sake of their own personal interests, and it's becoming predatory to where you're seeing some artists who really haven't done anything.
Yeah.
They might have played a short little 15-minute set here and there and might have just put out their first EP, but don't really have the fans they've really kind of gathered through, like real actual fans, not like friends or family.
Right. Yeah.
fans
Yes. Yep.
coming through to support, but they're getting some of these gigs that you would think maybe more of a mid-level musician would be getting, you know, playing some festivals that you're just kind of like, but right, but at the same time, you know, it makes sense. They're preying on those people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, I have to remind myself, like, don't just take what you see on social media or just any flyer or whatever as what it is, because things are not as transparent or just, I mean, life isn't fair, point blank period. We all know that, but it's just, it's like, dang, you know, sometimes I'm like, should I tell that person? Hey, watch out for this person, blah, blah. Or is it going to come off like me being some jealous ass bitch? You know what I'm saying? So most of the time it's like, let me just wait until they let me know that's something, and then, because I already know. Yeah. And I'll like, all right, let's talk.
Now let's talk.
Let's talk.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. I know that's not something that's unique to the city, but the city is very small to have as many folks that kind of operate in that way, and as many folks that know that some things aren't on the up and up happening, of continue to allow it to happen whenever they do have the power to stop it. Yeah. So it's kind of like one of those, I don't know, man. It kind of sucks. So whenever you're in front of the kids and they, you know, you're teaching them how to write their own beat or something, and they think, oh, I'm gonna get 1 million views on YouTube.
Like, what, kid?
Likely not to happen. Yeah. But, or the kids are like, I don't want to do this. I could pay a guy $80 and he'll write a song. He'll produce it for me. Like, yeah. And then what happens if it does get 100 million views on YouTube or 1 million views on YouTube? I'm not making much of money. Are you, or is the person who wrote it?
Who's
like, well, I already paid him $80. Did you sign a contract? I don't need no. Kid, I'm trying to tell you, kid. I'm trying to tell you, kid. Yeah. Do you want to learn this? Learn how to make your own beats? You don't have to. Or do you want to always have to, you know? Yeah. Come on, y'all.
What piece of advice would you give to a young woman starting out, no matter her age, you know, if she's a late bloomer or if she knows what's going on when she's 3? You know, and, you know, any advice that you would... I love how you've talked about, too, being the one in the band just to step up and just like, okay, listen, y'all, there needs to be some cohesion here. Also putting a stop to shit, you know, like, all right, you're talking to me, like you're trying to pull me out of pocket. Now let's just establish something here. Give us some advice.
So, okay, first with the advice, and I want to come back to that last little point you said. The advice I would have to the younger women, or even just a younger version of myself, is, you know, focus on yourself, and the only person you should be competing with is yourself. Not to say that, you know, this type of art form is a competition. Because it's not, but, you know, with social media and all these different outlets of where you're always just kind of seeing what people are doing and comparing, it's hard to not do that. Of like, man, I can't really get these hammer-ons, but so-and-so, she got it, like, yeah, girl, and she got 2-inch toes. And, you know, like, I mean, there's something about everything, you know, just let it go, focus on you, and typically, whenever folks are saying really mean, nasty, hurtful things to you, it's because that's just, you know, a reflection of how they really feel about themselves, and it's just misguided aggression or anger that you become the target. And, you know, it's going to be difficult, but, you know, find a support group system and lean in on them and just keep working on yourself. That's really all you really can do, because you can't control what people are going to do. Think, act, nothing. You can just only really control yourself. So I didn't really learn any of that or really know any of that until, you know, I'm, you know, a young adult running out here on these streets trying to like, make a name for myself in like, my mid-20s. And maybe late 20s whenever I started maybe practicing that a bit more. It's the difference between knowing something and actually applying it to your life. But to come back to the question about kind of never being publicly seen as the leader, but always really doing all the heavy lifting behind the scenes to make everything work, even on an emotional level, because we were not emotionally mature human beings for the most part. And as a general consensus, like emotional intelligence didn't even enter into my vocabulary until like 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? I've had several instances with bandmates, and for context, up to a certain point, I think maybe 2015-ish, overwhelmingly majority of my experience of playing music of any kind has been with white people, specifically white men. Doesn't matter what genre, style, blah, blah, blah. So just to get that out there. It was not a common thing to see women, period, let alone women of color. And the women of color, we were typically, either, a mixed bag of things. Anything you've ever heard. Tokenized, sexualized, made to feel inferior, made to feel like inadequate, not capable, this, that, and the other. Anything to try to like bring it down. Any way means necessary. Whomever the person is coming from the same place of insecurity, but it's just different things. And of course, me, at that time period of my life, I was not understanding all that. I was believing all these things, and I would get angry and then internalize that and try my hardest to like, oh yeah?
Right.
So what you say now, bitch?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, you still got something to say that actually hurt my feelings.
You do have something to say.
Just not, things stupid and naive.
Yeah.
I remember being at different rehearsals. I'm going to speak on one specifically. This happened a long time ago, where we are working on a new lineup of a band, and I kind of stepped into the role of being the lead singer, even though I don't. That's typically not like my goal is to be the lead. But if my vocals work, okay, that's great. But I know my vocals are not everyone's cup of tea. Let's put it that way. Anyway, I was getting really frustrated with the drummer at the time period because it seemed like he wanted to talk more than play. Just play through a song, slop-tacular, man, half-assed, just not tight. And I'm the bass player, so I'm like,
we got a lot.
Bro, we're not together.
Right. Yeah.
What do we need to do to tighten this up? But you just want to talk and have, maybe take another cigarette break. Our practices were being wasted by smoking and talking. And I'm like, so one practice, we were rehearsing, and I think we had played for 20 minutes. And to me, coming from my background, 8-hour rehearsals is kind of like, I'm accustomed to that. So these little, practice, this ain't practice.
Right.
And y'all aren't practicing in between these practices. This is just us running through the set and then saying we practice. Like, we're not trying to actively improve things. You're making the same mistake every fucking bridge on this song. Like, hello?
Yep.
Anyways, he starts to get up to like take a smoke break, and I go, you, sit down. Bro, he was fucking pissed. Like right away. And like, I remember writing him like an email like, hey man, I apologize if I came off really strong. Me being like a 22, 23-year-old person, woman, apologizing to a man like likely 20 years my elder. Like, he was so angry, but he didn't say anything. But, it was all written on his face, the attitude the rest of the rehearsal. And I apologized, and then another bandmate told me that he had called in and was venting about me, and I guess during the vent he got my email and said, well, at least she apologized, but, so he had to call, trying to run damage control, all that bullshit. And I'm like, damage control? Are we here to practice, or are we not? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think my approach has always kind of been more direct, because that's what I was exposed to. I just didn't really quite understand people really taking the idea of like wanting to be disciplined and actually work in the practices as what's the word I'm looking for? As like complaining or attacking.
Yeah, right. They feel like, you know, even constructive criticism is an attack on their character or their ability or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
those lines were not, they were all blurred together during those time periods. So me just being truly like, hey man, I want us to get better together, was taken as a personal attack, and me kind of being more isolated within the actual group. There was several moments of that. You know, I mean, I quit a band because of the drummer, but I'm like, bro, this drummer is consistently 40 minutes to an hour and a half late. I'm not tolerating this anymore. Yeah. And that motherfucker followed me to the other band. I'm like, oh!
God damn it, I just can't get away from you.
Are you gonna show up on time? Damn!
Well, a band that I was in, that when you and I first were starting to get to know one another, I left because of one of the similar things, you know, just like, okay, it's the same mistakes.
Looking back on that stretch was pretty toxic.
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, you know, I'll go down. You know, I'll die on the hill that I still have love for them.
Of course.
You know, one of the guys I'd met him when we were early teenagers, and you know, the other guys, I certainly respected them musically. You know, it was because you know. We were all songwriters. We were all, you know, a couple of us were multi-instrumentalists. You know, we all had the passion to play music. Mm-hmm. But there are certain procedures in bands that you need to implement each time. You know, every practice has to be, you know, like, okay, we're going to cut out these mistakes. We're going to iron this out, you know, because we keep A, doing it, and B, it sounds like shit, and it's embarrassing.
Like
yeah. And if you know,
let's run this section.
Run this. Let's find out what's falling apart.
Yeah.
Why it doesn't sound so good, and then smooth it out, and then you know, do it a second time, third time, fifth time to prove it wasn't a fluke, and then we move on.
And we move on.
Never have to touch it again. You know? So when it comes down to it, and something I was thinking about earlier too, I've mostly seen you. I've seen you in a few bands, and you and I play together in my band too.
Yes, in your band?
Yeah.
Is that the only band we play together in?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh
and I hope
I think it's always just been we've always just been adjacent.
Yeah.
I think it's what
just the same circles and a lot of the same shows. Like you and I have been on many a stage together, in one way or another. And I always hope that you know you found your experience with my band. You know.
Oh yeah, it was a.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like by the time, you know, you people came around in my life, it was a refreshing change. Well, one, we all black.
Yeah.
Except for
Philip. Yeah. Well, at the time,
for Philip.
Yeah, Philip was the only white person when we were a 4-piece, and then we became a 7-piece.
Right.
And it was me, you,
and that
Brandon.
was still fun too.
Yeah, yeah.
But I feel like we all had very similar experiences. We all kind of understood each other. Just, you know, we were all just kind of tired of the bullshit narrative of which has very slowly been revealed to be, you know, because it's really nice to see like these kids on TikTok. I mean, some of them were rocking out to like Blink-182 and
You've
Blink
seen
182
those guys.
and
And, I love them. Yeah.
And Green Day and the Paramore phenomenon that happened.
Yeah.
I remember one time driving down South Jefferson, like early 2000s. I had met Muse, so I was like I was on this high for a couple of years, and Muse was coming back to town, and so I was just like listening to their songs in my car, blasting it. I don't remember what song it was, but I was just in it. And I remember looking over to my left, this minivan, you know, black couple, just laughing at, like, just dogging my ass because I'm listening and singing along and doing out the drum beats to this psychedelic kind of rock band. And, you know, I mean, obviously it didn't feel good. Obviously there was a part of me that always kind of, like, braced for that, but you know, I can exist as myself now in the same space, do the exact same thing, and that laughter would not ever take place.
Yeah.
You know, that level of understanding has definitely expanded.
Yeah.
It seems to accelerate in a weird way. Well, not weird, I guess, you know, the internet.
Yeah.
But you know, there was a time period where I did feel like I had to hide those parts of myself. to try to like fit in. And then after a while, I'm like, man, I'm so tired of shit. Shut up. I don't care.
Yeah.
Fuck y'all. And like, you know, I've been approached by a lot of promoters here in St. Louis in my early time period that was kind of throwing on festivals for the Black artists here. And I was always really hesitant to participate because generally my shit was never really understood. I kind of still feel that way now, just generally, but it's definitely changing and shifting. But man, they weren't on that frequency at all. And if they were definitely hiding it.
Right.
And I think that's another reason why, you know, I'm sure you probably got this too, where I experienced probably equal amount of discrimination from white folks and Black folks.
Yep.
It's obviously shifting, but growing up, you know, like you said, you're not Black enough for Black kids. But it wasn't even like being Black enough. It was just like cultural differences of upbringing to where, because they couldn't relate to me,
yeah,
we cannot accept you, as opposed to just trying to find that place of understanding. So I just felt like I was always in the, like, if every group had its own little amorphous bubble that existed, I was that bubble that kind of like squeezed through different spaces and never really could actually join those bubbles. The boundaries were, you know, they would like, hey girl, what's that? Okay.
Yeah, right. I saw this Venn diagram, like, what was it? Music that people like, music that,
Right.
something like that. Like,
and the music I make.
The music I make was all squiggly around it. Yeah.
Exactly like that. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously complex and layered. Obviously, being a woman in the band, you know, having to deal with bandmates sexually harassing me or just doing inappropriate things, saying inappropriate things. A couple bands back in the day definitely, while my brother was sitting, I invited my brother to a show. My older brother was sitting with the band. I left to go to the bathroom or something. One of my bandmates told me later that, so-and-so was asking, I don't think he knew that, you know, your brother was your brother, but he was asking everybody at the table, like, so have y'all gotten your turn with Syrhea yet? And luckily, not so much for me, I mean, it is what it is, but luckily the conversation was shut down because my brother was there.
Yeah.
I don't think my brother would have done anything. But still, like, shit like that, like, playing Cinco de Mayo and having the MC, which now I don't think it really was the MC, but having the MC walk by and squeeze my ass on his way to the stage to introduce us. And I turned to my bandmate like, what the fuck, that asshole just fucking squeezed my ass. He was like, well, that sucks. But then years down the road, I see something with him and another woman. I'm like, was it really that MC that grabbed my ass, or was it this asshole here?
The fucking, yeah.
Right, you know, just like
God.
little things like that where you tell somebody, you tell the person, the leader of the band, and they don't, it's just so I'm just like, okay.
What do you call that? Gaslighting? That's gaslighting.
Yeah, gaslighting.
Right?
I mean, of course, you know, we didn't know those terms at the time period.
Sure.
You know, they existed, but yeah, definitely just gaslighting, or just like blowing smoke in my direction, not really going to take any of it seriously. Mm-hmm. And also maybe getting angry, and maybe their anger wasn't really because what happened to me, is because maybe they didn't get a chance to try to do it first. You know, I'm the game, and I don't even realize that I'm in this situation with these people in my face who are pretending, but maybe they're not really who they say they are, you know. So like that layer too of like, or even bandmates trying to pass you on to somebody else, like a touring band that we're holding up, like trying to like, oh, Syrhea, you know, like, oh my
God.
No, I'm not interested, and no, I don't know if I want to hang out with you anymore. So now I'm going to hang out with this guy in the band. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, when we're touring and stuff, and it's not, you know, we're not in our environment, and just basic needs, making sure I am safe and comfortable. I'm not asking for a whole lot. I'll sleep on the fucking floor. I mean, we're touring. But hey, man, I'm allergic to cats. I'll have massive asthma attacks. So if we can really just make sure the place we're staying doesn't have any cats, show up 4 fucking cats. I'm gonna sleep in the car. Y'all have a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like, just no, hey, man, I'm sorry, man. I'm going through a lot of health issues. I don't eat fast food. Also, I don't believe in that's really food. I would appreciate, you know, if y'all go to McDonald's, can we go to McDonald's where there's a grocery store across the street or something? No effort made. Just you know, just, but see, I think it's because I ain't tolerating all that, girl. That's how I was treated as a child.
Yeah,
so
right.
I didn't know that I deserved any better, if that makes sense.
I was thinking that you were going to say it's like, because no matter where I go, that's just
well, yeah,
who's
eventually
everybody's
I
going
gave
to
up.
be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Holy
eventually I gave up. Yeah.
shit. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's been, I've forgotten a lot. Not because, I think it's another coping mechanism.
I was going to
don't
say,
remember.
Is that repression?
Yeah.
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 Whew. We're on camera now, but I want to hug you.
Oh, you're so
I mean,
sweet.
you know, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it made me think of like days of tour on, you know, on the road with Cave of Swords. Like everybody's got a eating thing, you know, that gluten or, you know,
right.
dietary restrictions for whatever this or vegetarian, you know. It's like, hey, you know what? We need to find either a common ground, common restaurant, or it's okay that we split off, you know, and find something and just
and
eat
then
at the
meet
van
back
or
here
something.
at this time.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
no, man. Some of the touring experiences were not good. But
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm interrupting you, but I was gonna say, like, if there were, you know, 4 cats and we show up to some spot, you know, it's like, well, you know what? I'm gonna go. Syrhea's got to sleep in the van. I know that's lonely. I'm gonna go fucking out there too.
Or
you know,
even, hey, thank you for holding us up. One of our bandmates is deathly allergic to cats. Do y'all have cats? We can't stay there. So anybody can help us find other places and have cats.
Yep. A quick email.
Or hey, we're on tour. We're gonna play this house party, which was a lot of fun, mind you. But okay, let me tell you this story. Played a house party, a lot of fun, a lot of people. Next door neighbor shows up. He seems like a cool guy, just seems a little drunk. Then he starts talking crazy shit, like come over to my house. Not just to me, all of us. Come over to my house so I can murder you. Those were his words, literally. I want you to come over to my house so I can murder you. Everyone's laughing, think this man's joking. I'm looking at this motherfucker. I'm like, no, absolutely not. So then whenever one of the other bandmates walks in after the 4 of us were already there, and he's like, hey man, tell your bandmates to come over to my house. I want to show y'all something, and I just want us all to hang out, and then I'm just gonna murder you. And I'm like, why don't you go over there? There's no way on this earth we can entertain this man right here. So everyone thinks that I'm overreacting. I'm like, whatever. I'm going to bed right here on the couch, so I went to sleep. I don't know how long I was asleep. Not very long. Maybe you know how you you don't even realize you're in the sleep until someone. Oh my God, that guy! He has a knife. He has a knife, and he's outside. I'm like, why are we still here? Why are we still here? But then the band leader, what does he do? He grabs his girlfriend and they go drive off somewhere and sleep someplace else and leaves the rest of us in this house with this dude with the fucking knife that one of the bandmates gave back to him after they got it away. What? I'm like, yeah, these motherfuckers don't care.
Yeah.
Or it could just be because they want to have a story. Or, you know, I don't know. But it's just like, you know, that sex, drugs, and rock and roll bullshit that we grew up on.
Yeah.
Of like,
sex, drugs, rock and roll, and murder. I mean,
right? Let's act all stupid and like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. But like, bro, this ain't for me. Yeah. I like playing the shows. It's a little unknown after these shows are over.
I tell you, I've left bands for, you know, odd circumstances. You know, you join a band and then you go on tour with them and you see how they operate. Like, whether you knew them or not before. And it's like, look, man, I can't. They're, and you know, of course you talk to them as much as you can. It takes a while for me to really, not a while, but like, you know, I gotta build up a little courage to confront somebody sometimes. But if I'm to that point, then that means something's pretty rough. And I'll quit bands with some of that stuff. It's like, look, man, you brought all this drama from home to the road. That ain't I'm just your guitar player,
stuff,
man. Yeah.
It's not my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I think that man would have really murdered us? No, but I definitely didn't feel safe with his presence. Especially
say that he wouldn't.
Being woken up in the middle of the night. I mean, it was already 2 in the morning by the time I got to sleep.
Shit.
Being woken up in the middle of the night, he has a knife. We tried to get it away from him, but so-and-so gave it back to him. Just like, oh my God, we have no vehicle. We are literally fucking stranded here.
It's like, luckily they didn't get him first. You know, the one gave the knife back. You know.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this happened years ago. Not to say it's okay, but
Yeah.
I will say the state of like the scene here locally in St. Louis. That was in Chicago, by the way. You know, you see more women, you see more artists of eclectic genres. You see more diversity and more acceptance. It's not like tolerance. I feel like what I experienced was the underlying energetic tone felt like tolerance, but it was like you could see the pot lid bubbling, and some people let it psh.
Yeah.
But for the most part, nothing was really said. It was the looks, it was the glares, it was the energy, it was the I guess some of the words, underhanded, very dog whistle type stuff, microaggressions, and it felt like a tolerance. And then after they saw me play, then that tolerance shifted into some sort of weird sexual, like I want to have power over you.
Yeah.
Obsession.
Oh, that's so hot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that is equally, to me, equally as dangerous. I'm like, bro, I don't know, you know.
I want to one last thing that I want to hit on was you had mentioned how and this has actually come up in every episode how Black non-musicians view Black rock musicians or anything that isn't like R&B, hip hop, soul. You know,
you were programmed to believe was exclusively Black.
Yeah.
Which, Black does not exist around this bubble.
Yeah. So, okay, what are we telling them? What are we telling those folks? Like, you know, this is, remember who, hey, did you know that Little Richard? Did you know that, you know, Rosetta Tharpe? Did you know that so-and-so, da-da-da-da? What are we telling them? What's our message?
Like them as in kids or just them as in like...
Our family, Black friends, Black people laughing at the car, you know, in the car next to you.
Bitch, I don't give a fuck. I mean, I'm not the same person anymore. It's just like I feel way more secure and comfortable in my own skin, and like whenever I was younger, I really did care about what other people thought about me. I really did want to know and want to improve myself based on their opinions. I'm not that person anymore because when push comes to shove, I realize a lot of times whenever I do get, you know, people try to drag my name. I wouldn't say drag my name on the internet because most of the posts I've seen that were about me were they never mentioned my name, just passively aggressively talking about me. And they always attack my Blackness. And I feel like, well, that's all y'all can do. That's all you have. Yep. You can't really attack anything else, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. Because, sure, attack my Blackness all day, but I have fucking integrity. I'm pretty fucking transparent, I'm honest, I'm respected. Like, you can't take those things away from me. So, okay, go ahead. Bitch! Yeah. Hello!
It's not rubbing off.
That scene in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Okay, this hand's coming off. This side coming off.
Look, it rubbed off right here. Yeah.
Y'all might be projecting maybe your own insecurities on your identity onto me. And maybe you feel jealous that, you know, I'm just comfortable and open with who I am, and maybe you're not there yet, so I become your target. But it's not my problem anymore. I spent too many years of my life making these things that really weren't my problem, and I'm over it. Like, I love you, man. I mean, good luck, buddy. Like, oh, there's a little extra here. I see. I hurt what I did to you. I clearly hurt you because you're.
Tommy Tough Bones.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I hurt you, but the rest of the stuff that don't belong to me. That's you. Send it, return it to sender. You figure that out. Yeah. That's not me. But it took a long time for me to realize that that's not me. Yeah. That's not my responsibility to appear a certain way or act a certain way to be accepted by. It's like, y'all. Black culture is Black culture. It will always be Black culture, but also Black culture has been, some of it's been engineered by non-Black folks to keep us in a place of oppression and keep us in a place of competing, owning the oppression, and never really moving past those limitations they put on us. You know what I'm saying? So Jill Scott Heron said it. revolution will not be televised, but it happens in your fucking mind, man. You gotta change your mindset. And, bro, I feel way more free now. There's no way I'm going back. How can you?
You can't walk backwards with that too. And I tell too. I think I've only really had to say it one time, but someone, another black person questioning my blackness. It's like, you know what? You and I walk into the wrong room. We're both
fucking black.
Yeah,
bitch.
we're both black. Yeah, we're both boy to them or coon or whatever to these people.
It's like,
so
do y'all not understand? This is like a construct of white supremacy. Like, for some reason, only white people can enjoy the whole spectrum of humanity.
Right.
And the rest of us can, what?
Yeah.
That's some white shit. Girl, shut up.
It's like,
but I feel like it's not really happening that much anymore now. Like, there's these black camping groups that go out and camp. I mean, I found this TikToker, I forgot her name. She's like, I'm going to do all the things that people think is traditionally white. And she goes around and does... Like, see, she went to a rodeo. She's like, see, we here, y'all. And black cowboys, I mean, all this stuff. I mean, shit, my dad helped illustrate a book back in the early 90s on the history of the black cowboy. Mm-hmm. As if, like, cowboys became inherently this white thing, and it wasn't American fucking culture. Therefore, all walks of life that was alive and present in that time period were considered cowboys.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Are we serious right now? But I mean, I know. I mean, Lil Nas X helped with all that too. But still, like, I mean, of course, Beyonce. But
yes,
I'm talking before this recent pop cultural moments that are taking place. Like, y'all, sitting out smelling like outside is not just a white thing. I mean, I know our family be like, you still outside. Like, you be outside.
Smell like a grass.
You one of them country people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot. What I'm supposed to do.
It's hot, not knowing how to swim is not really a thing anymore because we're having access to pools and learning how to navigate waters and swim teams.
Mm-hmm.
What other things?
Cheerleading.
I guess cheer depending on what municipality you came from. I'm trying to think of the things we always just said. That's white. That's some white shit. Tailgating, or cruising the strip, or horseback riding, or riding a bunch of four-wheelers in the mud.
Right.
We're doing it all now. We're not hiding
Polka.
it. Well, shit, you got polka dancing, shit. Ballroom dancing, and not
The young lady who is what's the river dance thing? She's like a phenomenon. And she's like killing it. The time I heard about her, she's maybe 13 or 16 or something like that. I'm hoping that she,
Where she dances over the swords? That's the Irish, right?
Yeah. They're kind of hot in their place. Yes. That and opera.
Ballet. All of it.
Yeah.
Classical. There's a whole black orchestra. Was just information that you and I, but also the culture of America just suppressed, so we didn't know we were capable of doing these certain things, being good at math.
Yeah.
Just glorifying ignorance somehow makes me not black. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or no, I said that backwards. Glorifying ignorance. If I do not glorify my own that's too fancy, then I somehow I'm not black. I mean, come on, y'all. Like, are we being serious right now? Because I'm raising my standards, you think I'm asking for too much and I get attacked by blackness?
Yeah, right.
Blackness doesn't have to be ghetto and poor, living in the streets. There's a whole... I feel like this is only things that people in our generation and older have to still, I wouldn't say unpack. I feel like we get it. I feel like it's sometimes the older generations are still holding on to these things because these young kids, they don't give a shit, man. They're just out there doing stuff free, and it's beautiful to see.
Yeah. Well, because we kicked the doors down. I remember, I don't know how many times I've been told, man, you're whiter than me, or you're the whitest black guy I know, or some shit like that.
And what does that mean? They're attributing whiteness to success.
It's like, you're one of the good ones. That's what I heard too.
Or just being successful.
Yeah.
As if if you're black, you're by default not gonna be that. It's just like, bro, it's a color.
Yeah.
It's not a culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's his last name? Awesome fucking bass player. Plays in like all fucking bands.
Mm-hmm.
Starts with C. I can see it. Service. Shit. Cut this part out. But like Simon, great musician, but he was raised in New City. He was the minority in this situation. All black kids were the majority where he went to school. So whenever you hear him talk, you think he's black, but he's not. So people think he's not an actor, blah blah, or just black people are more willing to accept him into their circle because of just how things sound. Just like, bro, if you met a British black person, you wouldn't expect them to sound like you. I don't understand where all these expectations came from. I'm not pretending. I'm from fucking Rolla, Missouri.
Right.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and try to twist around into what the media and what y'all expect me to be.
Yeah. Code switching and
all that shit.
Yeah.